Well, first and foremost, let me wish.
Hold on. Let me give you. Hold on, stop. Let me give you the proper introduction.
Boy,
let me give you the proper introduction. So, brothers, I bring you one of my closest friends and brothers in Masonry. When we've been flowing and it just comes out of nowhere. We don't even remember how it all started. And Masonically, this guy has 13 books now?
Yes, sir.
13 books. He's been the head of every house when it comes to on the lodge level. He's been in the East in every house. I think that's the better way. He's been in the East for every house. And at the end of the day, he really doesn't need an introduction. So, brothers, I give you past master Damien Jack.
To the worshipful master, all present and past Grand Lodge officers, past masters, wardens, and brothers of St. James Lodge, number 114, bid you all good evening. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be before you this evening. Brother Feliciano hit me up one night last month, and he said, "Well, I have a favor to ask of you." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, we've been doing lectures, and I wanted to know if it's possible." I said, "Say no more." Didn't even let him finish. He has truly been, since we've met, a big supporter of mine. I can't say enough how much I appreciate his friendship and his brotherhood, and it does me an extreme honor to be before you this evening. As the Baptist preacher would say, I'm not going to be before you long. I do have a small lecture this evening that I would like to bring before you. And as always, I do pray that at the end of this lecture, it enhances at some form of fashion your Masonic journey. If you can see my screen, please give me a thumbs up. We good? All right. So let's get started. So the topic of my presentation this evening is entitled, "Are You Worthy?" Again, are you worthy? So a bit overview what we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to go over the definitions of worthy. For those of you who have never heard me speak before, give any type of presentation, or have read anything that I've written, let me give you a brief background. Ever since I came into Masonry, when I was coming into class, my instructor, who I consider my father in Masonry, he always told us that we had to come to class with three important pieces of material. We had to come with the ritual of that degree, we had to come with a dictionary, and we had to come with the King James Version of the Bible. So usually when I give my presentations, those are what I style my presentations around. As I have grown and matured as a man in Masonry, I use different volumes of sacred law, giving no disrespect to those who practice different faiths. But as we know, Freemasonry adopts no particular creed, so I pull from different volumes of sacred law to help cultivate different presentations that I develop. So just so you have that background. So again, tonight we're going to be discussing the definitions of worthy, and then we're going to discuss two types of worthy that I actually came up with. We're going to discuss lodge worthy, and then we're going to discuss individual worthy, and you'll understand the differences hopefully once we're done with this presentation. So first, let's go over the definitions of worthy. And there are actually three definitions that I use, and I combine them into one particular definition and meaning. The first definition of worthy is having or showing the qualities or abilities that merit recognition in a specific way. The second definition is deserving effort, attention, or respect. And the final definition is good enough or suitable. So when you put those three definitions together, being worthy or being considered worthy is showing the qualities or abilities that are suitable and deserving of merit and respect. If we look within our rituals, you will see that the word worthy shows up all throughout the ritual, from the time you step foot into the lodge to the time you receive your Master Mason degree. So we want to discuss what, are you worthy? What is considered worthy, and why you must be considered worthy in order to receive the thing that you receive. So first, again, we're going to be discussing what I'd like to style as being lodge worthy. First, you had to be considered worthy and well qualified. When you were in the anteroom, the secretary came to you and said that Freemasonry welcomes and admits worthy men of all creeds in every race. In every initiation that you have gone through, the question comes after you've been asked, is he worthy and well qualified? And this is asked by the senior deacon, the worship masters, and the wardens when you go through each station and before you even step foot into the lodge room. Now the question becomes, what actually made you worthy and well qualified? Now, for a little bit as I was coming up with this presentation, I struggled with this a little bit. And the reason why I struggled with this a little bit, because when I thought about being worthy and well qualified, I thought about basically, what it says, being a man free, born of lawful age, and well recommended. But then I thought about that for a minute. The question, whether you're worthy or well qualified, actually comes before it is asked what further rights or benefits, right? And that's where the being a man comes in as far as the, further rights or benefits. So what made you worthy or well qualified to even, come into the lodge? First, you had to, ask a friend, you had to fill out a petition, then you had to be investigated by the committee, and then you had to be balloted on by the body. And once you went through those three steps, you were considered worthy and well qualified to enter the lodge. Now, after it being said that, you were a man, you were free, born of lawful age, and well recommended, the worshipful master says that, you meet all the necessary qualifications. So it's something that I want you to think about after, we have this presentation. Not something that we can answer now, but something that I thought about and that I want us to think about as we move forward. Is there a difference between necessary qualifications and being well qualified? Because I asked that question because if we were well qualified, would there be a need to ask those questions further? Because it was already asked by the worship master, the senior deacon, and the wardens, if you were worthy and well qualified. So just think about that for a little bit. Is there a difference between necessary qualifications and being well qualified? Now, even though you were considered worthy and well qualified, you went through the process of filling out the petition. You went through the process of being investigated by the committee. You went through the process of being balloted on by the lodge. You were considered worthy and well qualified to come in and be initiated and receive your first degree. Then when you received your first degree, you were hoodwinked and you had a cable tow wrapped around you. But at that time, you could still have rendered yourself unworthy. If you didn't conform to the ceremonies of initiation, you could have been led out of the lodge without even having the hoodwink taken off and seeing the beauty of what is Freemasonry. So by your actions, even before you step foot, or it could have been a point where you stepped foot into the lodge and you were going through the ceremonies, if you did not conform to the ceremonies, you could have rendered yourself being unworthy, not showing the qualities and abilities capable of deserving the attention and respect. You could have been led out the lodge, and that would have been it for you. And then, of course, by the time you get to the altar, this is where you were given your obligations, and you are taught how to, as an individual, consider someone else worthy. Because you had to you was told and your obligations that you would not reveal the secrets to anyone except he be a worthy brother in whatever degree he was in, whether he was an entered apprentice, whether he was a fellow craft, or whether he was a master mason. And you had to find them to be worthy before you can reveal anything. You had to find them to be worthy. You had to find that they show the suitable qualities and abilities deserving of the respect of revealing these secrets to them. How did you find them worthy? By due trial, which is an adequate test of the qualities or suitability, strict examination, or lawful Masonic information. And even when you are to, as you move further into Masonry and you are given out and you are obligated to help, aid, and assist, you had to find them worthy before you were able to do so. So in understanding this, it made me want to ask this question. If a brother is found worthy by his lodge, then why do you, as an individual, need to find these brothers worthy? For me, the answers I found later on in the ritual. In the middle chamber, that we've learned that every week on the evening of the 6th day, you had to present your work. What I define work is something produced or accomplished by effort, exertion, exercise, or skill. So every week you had to produce, you had to present something that you produced, something that took effort, time, and skill, and you had to present it. And when you present it, this is how you proved yourself worthy. And you had to prove yourself worthy by strict fidelity, or what is defined as uncompromising loyalty to your duties. When you proved yourself worthy by this strict fidelity to your duties, you were able to receive your wages, right? So you had to do this every single week. So it wasn't as if you proved yourself worthy one time and then you constantly get paid. No, you had to prove yourself worthy every single week in order for you to get your wages. What is that saying? To me, that's saying just because you proved yourself one time doesn't mean that you're entitled to get it every other time. You have to constantly prove yourself by your actions and show that you are worthy enough to receive what you are trying to receive. And so if you will prove yourself worthy by strict fidelity to your duties, what are these duties that we're talking about? Now, the duties that I picked out, that I would say, is our duties that we learn in the charge of an apprentice. Our duty to God, our duty to our neighbor, and our duty to ourselves. When we show strict fidelity to these duties that we owe, and my homework to you this evening, if you don't remember what those duties are, I advise you to look those duties up, not just in the charge of an apprentice, but also in the charge of a master mason, because they're both found in those places. It's more in detail in the charge of an apprentice, which is why I particularly chose that charge. And also because you were made a mason in an entered apprentice degree, but that's another conversation. So as you get to understand that, in every week you have to prove yourself worthy, and you have to present your work, whatever work that may be. Once you prove yourself, it goes into this quote that I found by Mackenzie Davis. How you choose to present yourself to the world shows what's meaningful to you and what you want others to think is meaningful to you. So basically, you have to present yourself. Your work is how you present yourself to the world. And we have been taught by working tools, by charges, by so many things, by the lessons overall in Freemasonry, how we're supposed to carry ourselves. As a matter of fact, just remember, we stood in the northeast corner, and we're told by the worship master that we stood an upright man and mason, and we have to walk and act as such before God and man. This is presenting yourself and showing yourself worthy, not just on a weekly basis, but on a daily basis. If you remember, when Hiram Abiff was getting ready to go about his daily duties after praying, he was met by these ruffians. And the first ruffian that he met, he wanted the secret word, as we know. But he told him that if he was found worthy, that he would get what he was asking for. The problem was that he was asking for something that he was not yet ready to have. He was asking for something that he was not yet worthy to receive. His actions did not show that he was yet worthy to receive what he was asking for. And so it makes you ask, it makes you ask the question, were they deserving of having what they were asking for? Because if they were deserving of it, they wouldn't have to ask for it, it would be given to them. But they were trying to take something that they were not yet worthy to have. And so you have to look at that when it comes to, and we have all seen it throughout this order, where you have those who we consider to be brothers, who are obligated to be our brothers, who want something that they're not yet ready to have. Instead of waiting for their due season, they try to take something that they're not ready to have. They're not yet found worthy, but they still try to take something that should not be theirs yet. We have all seen that, and we can talk about that afterwards. And then you look at one of the first things that you were presented with, that lambskin or white leather apron. We learned that it's more ancient and it's more honorable. Now we can go all day and talk about what is more ancient than and what is more honorable than. But the key words to that when it was presented to you is when worthily worn. When worthily worn. What does that mean? That means if you do not show the qualities and abilities deserving of the respect of being a Mason, then are you truly wearing that apron the way that it's supposed to be? Is it really being worn? Is it really being worn as being ancient and being honorable? Are you really truly wearing it as a badge of a Mason? So it's not the apron that makes it worthy. It's the person wearing it. So are you worthily wearing that apron the way that you're supposed to in order to make that apron more ancient and more honorable? Because if not, you're not only disgracing yourself, but you're disgracing the badge that you're actually wearing. When I thought about this, coming up with this presentation, you have to forgive me. I'm a Marvel fan, so I had to use this as an example, and it's a great example. I thought about Thor. When I think about Thor, and I think about the movie itself, Thor in the beginning, in the very first movie of Thor, he had a sense of entitlement, and he automatically thought that the throne was going to be his, and that him being Thor and the powers of Thor was automatically going to be his. And so his father Odin saw this sense of entitlement, and it's like, he's not ready to have this. And so he put that spell on the hammer Mjolnir. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. And it wasn't until, of course, near the end of the movie that he showed himself worthy by sacrificing himself for the betterment of humanity, and that's when he found himself to be worthy. But then when you fast forward all the way to, well, even before that, if you get to the second Avengers: Age of Ultron, and those who were trying to pick up the hammer, he said, it's very simple. You're not worthy. So you get all the way to Avengers Endgame, and we see Thor, and he was so happy when he went back in time and got the hammer, and he found himself to still be worthy. That was a reflection of himself, because by that time he was really going through a lot. He let himself go. He lost both his parents. He lost his land. He lost his brother. He lost the war against Thor. He was at a point where he was at a complete depression. So he looked at himself in a negative way. But for him to go back and for the hammer to still come to him, showed him that even through all that he had went through, he was still considered worthy. and that's what meant the most to him. So what is the reason? What is the reason for us as individuals to find other brothers who have already been, again, they've already been considered by the lodge worthy to become Masons? But why do we as individuals still have to find these brothers worthy? The reason why we have to find these brothers worthy, because when you give of yourself and you look at the things that you have to give of, the brothers that you give yourself to, you have to make sure that these brothers are showing the qualities and abilities that deserve the effort that you're going to give towards them, that the respect that you're going to give towards them, the attention that you're going to give towards them. And so when you receive these lessons and you see the word worthy in them, it gives you that understanding. The first time you see it is when you give the 24-inch gauge, and it says a third of your time you would give to a distressed worthy brother. You're giving of your time. When we learn about charity, if you truly understand what charity is, and me and Brother Feliciano and Brother Greenaway have seen the argument of what charity truly is, and that's another presentation I'll come up with later. But when you understand what charity truly is, you will understand that the most important thing that you can give when it comes to charity is your time. Why? Because of anything that you give, time is the one thing that you cannot get back. Time is the one thing that is constantly moving forward. And once you give someone of your time, that's it. You can never ask for that time back. So when we talk about the 24-inch gauge and giving a certain time to a distressed worthy brother, is that brother worthy of the time that you are giving of him? Because when you give that person your time, you are taking time away from yourself. You're taking time away from your family. You're taking time away from something that may be important to you that you're giving to him. Is he worthy of that? When we talk about the first point of fellowship, which I consider the 5 points of fellowship, or what I call the 5 essential elements of friendship. The first point of fellowship we talk about is foot to foot. And when you understand what foot to foot means, you know that you are going the extra mile for that brother. Is that brother worthy of you going that extra mile for him? The third point of fellowship, being breast to breast, is that person worthy enough for you to share your secrets with? Do you know that this person will actually keep your secrets, or will he go around running his mouth about something that you thought was going to stay as sacred and inviolable in your breast as it was in his? And the fact that, once again, going back to that obligation that you are to help, aid, and assist. Is that person worthy? Is that brother worthy of your help? Is that brother worthy of your aid? Is he worthy of the assistance that you're going to give him? All of this is encompassing of your time. Is that brother worthy of it? So this is the reasons why you have to find a person. As an individual, you have to find a person worthy. Because there are some, and we have to be honest, there are some where Brother Feliciano may find me worthy, but there'll be another brother who may not find me worthy. And so you have to understand that being found worthy is subjective. It is an individual thing. And so does that person basically meet your standard? As I conclude, being found worthy has nothing to do with your words. It has everything to do with your actions. And as I told my class this morning, your actions have to match your words. Notice I didn't say it the other way. I didn't say your words have to match your actions. Your actions have to match your words. Because it's easy to say one thing and your actions show another. So as DeShannon Stokes says, if your actions don't live up to your words, then you have nothing to say. Your attitude is a result of your actions. So, and I know my attitude is a result of your actions. So basically, how I act towards you is a result of your actions. So if you don't like my attitude, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And also, you have to watch your actions, because as Winston Churchill says, your actions become your habits. Now, I'm not sure how in the New York jurisdiction, how you start, as far as the grip, how you start, but we start here. Take me as I take you. And what I take of it is the same way that you go to find someone being worthy, you have to be worthy as well. It goes both ways. You can't sit there and go out and try to find somebody worthy and try to meet that standard and they have to meet your standards, but you don't meet their standards. Or better yet, let me put it this way. The same standard that you want others to meet, you should be at that same standard as well. So I end this by asking you, while you are going out to find those who are worthy, those who are worthy of your time, those who are worthy of your effort, those who are worthy of your respect, those who are worthy of your attention, you also have to ask yourself, are you yourself worthy? My brothers, I thank you for your time. So more be.
Wow. Now playing, brothers, I'm opening the floor for questions. I have one. Do you think when it comes to being worthy that as time goes by, you can lose that? And is this something that you always have to prove as a member of this fraternity as time goes by?
I think so. I'll use tonight as an example. You thought me worthy enough to come to your lodge and present a lecture tonight, right? And so tonight I still had to prove myself because there are brothers who are on this call who have never heard me speak. So in doing that, you're basically putting your name out there for me. So what would happen if I decide to give, I gave a trash lecture, or as the saying goes, we don't rest on our laurels. So just because my last one was good doesn't mean that my next one is going to be good. So what happens if I give that one bad lecture? I didn't prove myself to be worthy of, worthy of your time, to be worthy of you putting your name out there for me, right? And we talked about before, the importance of your name, right? So what happens if I lose that? Now I have to go back out there and I have to prove myself, again. So every time I come before a lodge, a chapter, a temple, whatever, I have to, constantly prove myself that I am worthy of the time that you are given to me to listen to what I have to say. We have times where we're, where we're gonna falter, and just look at, look at, what goes on in the order, and you look at the behaviors of, the behaviors of some people, especially when they, get into positions of power, right? They were worthy. We may have thought that they were worthy enough to get in there, but then what do their behaviors show when, once they're in there? What do their actions show? And then when it comes time again for re-election, are they worthy of being re-elected, or do we need to move them out the way? So, every day is different, and, as time goes, you grow, you become a different person. We go through different trials and tribulations. And we know that those trials are a test of, showing who we are as a person. And so from those tests, it shows, are we worthy enough of the titles that we bear? So I believe it's an everyday process. I think if it was, even now, we're tested so that when we're called from labor to refreshment, which way are we going to go? We can't rest on our laurels of one good day of behavior and act behind and say, well, I acted good the other day a few years ago, so I'm still going to go. Every day is a new day. So, every day you have to prove yourself worthy.
Thank you. Any brothers have any questions? Get on mute.
No question. I just want to thank you for coming out this evening, brother. You know, again, another magnificent lecture delivered. You know, got me thinking about you know, being worthy in front of the lodge, and definitely the 5 points of fellowship. I never really looked at it like that. You know, the way you broke it down. Definitely something to think about and walk away with. So I appreciate the time that you took to spread this light this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just want to say I will be looking into you when I get down to the South again. I'm going to plan to do some traveling this year. I'll reach out to you when I'm close to North Carolina and see what you got going on there.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right.
JT?
Master Jack, it is a truly an honor for you to come to our lodge and provide a excellent lecture. I talked with Brother Feliciano. I've seen your work on, the Prince Out Think Tank, like very, very excellent. And your lecture tonight, like Brother Greenway said, it really had me thinking about worthy. And I mean, in a way, it's like it made me check myself. You know what I'm saying? Am I, doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a brother, as a Mason, and also as, a principal officer of this lodge? It made me check myself, and sometimes we need that. We need to, be able. We gotta check ourselves and say, hey, are we still worthy at the end of the day? If not, we need to get to that level of where we once was, of being worthy again. So I do and truly thank you for that.
God is good. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? One comment that I have, you mentioned, and it's crazy because you mentioned how it's subjective, right? Being worthy is subjective to the individual. Somebody could find you unworthy, or somebody else may find you worthy. There's been times when, and you've seen this online, where brothers have sit there and say that I don't know how you even became a member of this craft and told me all this and all that. But then I look at my lodge and I see how my lodge loves, being and talking with me and being with me and just, the fellowship that I have with my brothers in my lodge. And then I look at my relationship, like the relationship I have with you and other brothers, in this craft in other states. And it's like, it really is subjective to the individual, but it also makes you question, like, what are you doing wrong? That the brother looks at you in that kind of light,
We're recording, so I'm calculated in how I say things. So, understanding that being found worthy is subjective. This is how I see it, and actually I think I put this as a morning message, if not yesterday, the day before. There are those who are going to take time to understand who you are as a person, and there are those who are satisfied with what they hear about you. Okay? And so once you know the difference between the two, then you know who to give your time, energy, and attention to. Understanding that, when it comes to those finding you worthy, you have to consider the source. How much do they really know? And I say that because, yes, there's nothing wrong with self-reflection. But how much does a person know about you to render you worthy or unworthy? Right? Are they going by what they truly know and understand about you? Or are they going by what they hear? For those who, are satisfied with going by, what they hear, that speaks more to their character than it does to yours. Because they didn't take the time. They're good with just hearing what somebody else has to say about you and not taking the time to to know you and understand you, for themselves. So understanding, yes, being found worthy is subjective, but at the same time, the question, are you worthy? That's a question, for you, for you to answer. When you understand that Freemasonry is about self-improvement and about using the tools to improve yourself, you have to answer that question, and you have to walk in, when you walk into a building, they should already be able to see by your presence, oh yeah, this brother is, this brother is worthy, to the point where there's no question. You're going to have your haters, or
and Lord knows I got a lot.
Let's call them ruffians. You gonna have your ruffians. I got a slew of them. Don't worry about it. I got a slew of them. But understand. One thing that I heard you say is when you talked about how, you have those outside of your jurisdiction, or your lodge, your jurisdiction, or whatever, where you get that love and where you get that love and respect and things like that. As I told you, I didn't go too much in the volume of sacred law within this presentation, but I can't leave without doing so. The book of Mark chapter 6 and 4 says that when Jesus said that the prophet is not without honor except in his own house and his own home by his own family. And so you have to remember that the prophet is going to be respected everywhere else except his own home. Why? Because those outside of your home, they see the person that you are now, and they highly respect and admire the person that you are now. The people, when Jesus said that, he said, my own people, they only see me, oh, this is the carpenter. Why am I listening to him? He was just a carpenter. They see you for who you were. They don't see you for who you are. So a lot of times, plenty of times, you're gonna get that honor, that respect outside of home more than you do, and inside of home. So again, when it comes to being worthy, first of all, you have to consider yourself worthy first. That's why I use the example of Thor, because his measuring stick was always the hammer. And he knew that as long as he was able to, to hold that hammer, he knew that he was worthy. And so for him to get that hammer after all the years after it had been destroyed, after losing to Thanos and going through everything else, he was still considered worthy. That was his self-reflection. So what is your measuring stick of knowing whether you're worthy or not? What is your, you have to have a standard, and knowing once you have it, you have to not only reach it, but stay there. So, every time somebody considers you quote unquote unworthy, is not always a time where you look at yourself. You got to sometimes look at the source and wonder, okay, where is this person coming from, and really, should I really give it my time and effort?
Thank you. Any other brothers have any comments or questions that they want to bring along? No? Brother Jack, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this for me.
Absolutely.
And not just for me, but just for the lodge. I think the lodge really needed that motivation. It was a great lecture, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome. I'm here when you need me.
Anytime. Thank you.
Absolutely.